Hey everybody, welcome back into the studio. I'm going to show you how to develop a nice resistance training routine that's perfect for beginners and intermediates that you can take and do at pretty much any gym. Even if you just have dumbbells at home, you can probably do a lot of this stuff. We're going to make it super global. I'm going to take you through all of the foundational patterns that I think you need to have in your workouts, going over the basics, the sets, the reps, the exercise choices. You shouldn't have too many questions when we're done, so that you can literally take this and start applying it to get into resistance training or lifting weights if you are completely new to it, or if you've been doing it but you don't have a routine that you're super enthusiastic about. This will cover literally everything. So the first thing we're going to do is go over what I call the core four. These are the 4 resistance training movement patterns that train the most muscles the most efficiently. If everybody just did this, everybody out there in the real world would be much fitter. These are the meat and potatoes, the high leverage, big bang for your buck stuff. The core 4, okay? Pushing, we can push in front of us, we would call this horizontal, and pushing vertical. So, pushing, pattern number 1. The second is pulling, which takes place in those same 2 planes. I can pull horizontal, and I can pull vertical. Number 3 is the hinge, okay? The ability to create a hinge at the hips. Amazing for the back side of the body, okay? And the last of the core 4 patterns is the squat, okay? Which is amazing for the quads, glutes, core, and upper back. So, between these 4 patterns, squatting, hinging, pulling, and pushing, I can train every single muscle. So let's start out with our pulling exercises, going over some of the pulling choices that we have and that we can include in a good pull routine, or in a good total body routine. We want to address the pulls first. So, and you can go in any order, right? You can do your pushing, your pulling, your squatting, your hinging in any order. We're just going to start with pull because that's what I gravitated to. Okay. So the first one I love, very approachable for most people, is a lat pull down, okay? Very simple. A vertical pull, so we know we're gonna get our lats, the big muscles of our back. Anytime we do a pull, we're gonna bend or flex our elbows. That's going to work our biceps. And our grip is working pretty hard, so that's gonna work our forearms too. If I keep my core tight, my abs are gonna be engaged. So this is just a lovely exercise. It's a vertical pull, okay? We like this a lot, do this with most of our clients, okay? The next one that you might try, if you want to incorporate another pulling exercise, this is using the TRX. We call this a reclined row. So the pull is a little more horizontal. Notice my arm path is here, not here, but it's all the same muscles. Mid-back, flexing the elbow, so there's some biceps, gripping hard, so there are some forearms. Those 2 right there are amazing. What if you have dumbbells and you want to load the pull using a dumbbell? Well, I quite like the 1-arm row. So you can do this like so. Set up in this split position right here with 1 arm here and row up. This is, again, let's check that arm path. Boom, a horizontal pull. So lats, biceps, forearms. You can do this on a bench, but here we go, rowing. Now, those 3 pull options are amazing for most beginners. They don't require a ton of mobility. They're not super technical. And I would recommend doing 3 to 4 sets of about 10 to 12 reps. And I'm gonna make that same recommendation for pretty much everything we do. 3 to 4 sets, 8 to 12, let's say, reps. Enough reps that we can go kind of heavy, but not so heavy that we lose form, and enough sets, 3 to 4, that we get lots and lots of practice. So those were our pulling options, and there are many, many more. Those are just ones that I like for beginners because they're not very technical. Let's discuss our pushing option. So pushing is the opposite of pulling. And so when you think of pulling as working the lats, the back, and the biceps, and the back of the shoulder, Okay, so the posterior shoulder, biceps, and lats. If the pushing movement is the opposite, it's going to work the opposite muscles. So it works the chest, the triceps, and the front of the shoulder. So pretty cool. Pull, rear delt, push, front delt, pull, bicep, push, tricep, pull, lat, push, pec. The human body is pretty freaking cool in how it works that way. And it's crazy because the lower body will show this when we get to the hinge and the squat. Same thing. Hamstring, flex, quad, extend, glute, extend, hip flexors, flex. Crazy how that works. So for our push, let's start with what I think is probably the easiest, and that is a push up. So there's a hinge, sneak peek for you. It's a great way to do push-ups if you're brand new, and that is to just simply set a bar up in a rack or a Smith machine or do them from the floor so that you take a little bit of the demand off the body, lower the chest to the bar, and push up. Down to the bar, and push up. To the bar, and push up. So stretching the chest and pushing up with the shoulders, chest, and triceps all together. That is probably the simplest way to work on your pushing mechanics, and it lets your shoulder blades move around more freely. So I love that exercise. I have two benches set up here, side by side, that will actually let me show you pretty easily two other awesome pushing options. So the first is going to be an incline bench press. I really like the incline bench press because for most people, it's a little bit easier on the shoulder. So how we do the incline press, start with our dumbbells up top. I don't want your shoulders way out here. Most of you won't have this mobility, especially if you're brand new to lifting. So we want our shoulders right here, about 45 to 75 degrees, okay? And we're gonna press up and over the nose, come down and under control. And if we pay attention to that arm path, folks, you're going to find that that is a horizontal push. So that's going to work more of the chest. Just like how when we do a horizontal pull, it works more of the mid-back. Now, when we do a vertical pull, it works a little more lats. And you'll see here when I show you the shoulder press, where we're sitting upright, a vertical push like this, whoom, little less chest, little more shoulders and triceps, okay? So we have vertical pulls and vertical pushes, and we have horizontal pulls and horizontal pushes. And I would recommend that you do a combination of both. So, again, for any of these pulls, push up, flat dumbbell bench press, incline dumbbell bench press, dumbbell shoulder press, 3 to 4 sets, 8 to 12 reps. Pick one. Pick a vertical pull and a horizontal push. Or pick a horizontal pull and a vertical push. Do both for 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps, and you will have trained, check this out, your forearms, your biceps, your triceps, front of your shoulder, back of your shoulder, top of your shoulder, lats, mid-back, and pecs. That is your whole upper body, and your core will work too. That's why for beginners, we want to pick compound movements, movements that work multiple joints and multiple muscles. And that is just 2 of our core 4 patterns. So let's move on to the third core pattern, which is the hinge, okay? Now a hinge is essentially a lower body movement that is hip dominant. Now the hip hinge itself looks like this, but for you beginners, we're also going to include hip thrusts, which are an excellent exercise for the glutes. This is probably the easiest option we have. So from this position, we just simply drop the hips, a subtle hinge, and extend the hips to lock them out. You can have a dumbbell on the lap. You can do these body weight, but drop and extend to train the glutes and train hip extension. Again, when we're training our hinges and training that core pattern, we want to feel glutes and hamstrings together. So my favorite hinge to teach to the novice weightlifter is the Romanian deadlift. And a lot of people do it with a barbell, but I want you to learn how to do it with a dumbbell. And so you can start by just holding a dumbbell in this position, soften the knees, push the hips back, and hinge the hips forward. Boom. Down and up, and down and up. Stretching the hamstrings and the glutes over and over again. That is the most basic form of the hip hinge. If you're more advanced and can handle more load, just hold 2 dumbbells together or use a barbell. Now, if you are very, very new, or stability, athleticism, and coordination are more important to you than anything, try doing it single-legged. Hold on to a rack and hinge on one leg. And again, you could hold the dumbbell. So we would call that the single leg RDL. Some people also do this with a B stance, where they work one leg more than the other. But those are your best hinging options for beginners. Some type of hip extension, hip thrust, some type of deadlifty hinge. Now, you can also just use a traditional deadlift taught very simply as your hinge. The only thing is, you will get a little bit of quads on this too, which isn't bad. But start with a weight on the ground, step over it so it's right on your shoelaces, hips back, knees bend, pick it up with knee bend and hip extend, okay? Together. That is a deadlift. That is a little bit of knee bend, so I didn't make that one of our core patterns. But if you wanted to do a deadlift as your hinge, awesome choice, more power to you. Again, 3 to 4 reps, maybe closer to like 5 to 10 reps. I don't need 10 to 12 deadlifts out of you very often. If you're doing the bodyweight hip thrust, maybe you go up to 20 reps, but we still want that 3 to 4 sets. So that brings us to our final movement pattern, which is the squat. And I'm going to show you a couple different options for the squat that I think are appropriate for a novice weightlifter. The first is a goblet squat. I really like this. Probably the best way to learn to squat, because you have a counterbalance out in front of you, which will help you sit deep and come up. How deep you squat is going to be, really dependent on your mobility. So if you can't squat super low, don't worry. And if squatting with weight like that is challenging for you, you can squat with body weight only, or even use something like the TRX to support you through a full range of motion like this. Okay, so we want to make sure that we go as deep as we can without generating any pain at the ankles, knees, or hips. And so goblet squats and bodyweight squats are great. If you're a little more advanced, and if you find that you have the coordination, you can definitely squat with a barbell. Just get it so that its knurling or middle point is right over the middle of your back. And just squat through that range of motion that's comfortable with a weight on your back. Now, if your gym has a machine, like a hack squat or a leg press, that will also be good. But we want to use these exercises, these squats, to train our quads, to train our glutes, and to train that pattern. Because like I mentioned, where the hip hinge and those hinging movements work more of the posterior chain, the squat works a little more of the anterior chain, the front of the body. So they really complement each other well. If you want to optimize for athleticism, for stability, you can try various lunges, which is a movement type all its own, but it is in theory a single leg squat. So things like reverse lunges, walking lunges can be good options, but those are a little more advanced. I would save the lunge pattern until you have mastered all of the core 4. Your pushes, your pulls, your squat, and your hinge. So we've gone over 12 options for our core 4. For our pulls, we have lat pull downs, dumbbell rows, TRX rows. For pushes, we have push-ups, chest press with dumbbells, overhead press with dumbbells. For hinging, we have hip thrusting, deadlifting, Romanian deadlifting. And for squatting, we have goblet squats, barbell squats, hack squats, leg press, bodyweight squats. We have all these options, okay? Your job is to just pick one from each category of your core 4. 1 push, 1 pull, 1 squat, 1 hinge, 3 to 4 sets, anywhere from 5 to 10 reps on the heavy squat and hinge, or about 8 to 12 reps on any of them, period, if you're not trying to go heavy or push yourself. What I want you to be just a little bit wary of is trying to do like 10 or 12 deadlifts with way too much weight, or 10 or 12 squats with way too much weight. That can be really awkward for a new lifter. If you want to push weight, keep the reps on the lower side of things. Now, let's talk about how we fill in the gaps to make for a really efficient and productive training session. Before you go into any of the lifting, actually, I would do 8 to 10 minutes of cardio. Now, not hard cardio, just get warmed up cardio. So that can be a sled push like this. It can be a bike. It can be a rower. It can be a treadmill. It can be a Stairmaster. Just do something to get warm. Then move into your core 4 and allocate the majority of your time to the core 4 exercises. Once you've done 1 for each, that should be about 10 to 12 sets, okay? That leaves you a little bit of time on the end for what we call accessory work. And I like to think of accessory work as movements that isolate smaller muscles. So this could be biceps, triceps, shoulders, glutes, which are big muscles, but we have small muscles in our glutes. And it's your job as the lifter to determine what accessory work matters to me. Do you want to move better and feel better? Then maybe that accessory work is more core and mobility. Do you want bigger arms and shoulders for summer? Then maybe that accessory work is arms and shoulders. Do you want more visible glutes? Then of course some of that accessory work should be for the glutes. But I would recommend picking 1 or 2 exercises and doing just 2 or 3 sets of accessory work after your core 4. So we'll use arms as an example. I'm going to do some tricep extensions, which is an isolation exercise just for my triceps. And I'm going to pick the tricep rope push down and do 2 sets of 15 reps at the end of my core 4. And I'm also going to pick the dumbbell hammer curl for more biceps and do about 2 sets of 15 at the end of my core 4. So I'm just sneaking in a little accessory work. Now, here's what this looks like across a whole entire week. Let's say on day 1, Monday, I do a push, push-up, a pull, lat pull down, a squat, goblet squat, and a hinge, Romanian deadlift, all for 3 sets of 8. And I finish with 2 sets of biceps and 2 sets of triceps. That's a whole workout. I would then recommend taking a day off, if not even 2, and then when you train again, train the same way, but use different exercises. So again, you're going to come in, you're going to get your core 4, but instead of a push-up, do an overhead press. Instead of a lat pull down, do a row. Instead of a goblet squat, do a lunge, or a hack squat, or a leg press. Instead of a Romanian deadlift, do a hip thrust. And then if you did accessory work that was arm specific in your first session, maybe do shoulders or do abs for like 10 minutes or so. That's it, folks. That is how simple putting together a resistance training routine can be. If you're new, I totally recommend training total body. I would recommend following the template that we talked about today for about 3 weekly sessions, okay? So that would look like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Just 3 weekly sessions of 4 big exercises to address your core 4, and 1 to 2 exercises for accessories. That should take you about an hour. And that is what I wish most people would do when they get started. Even if you are advanced, a routine like this will help you hold on to muscle and build strength if you're traveling and you can't access the gym as much. This, I think, is the best foundational way to start with weightlifting. Address the core patterns that improve movement and develop the most tissue the most efficiently. Sprinkle in accessory work that's personal to you and what you'd like with your physique. A light cardio warm-up with plenty of time in between to recover. If you found this video helpful and you're new to resistance training, definitely hit the like button, the notification bell, follow and subscribe to the channel and me across various social media. My goal is to help the most people I possibly can resistance train, because I think that is the best tool we have for fighting disease and decline, and I am determined to do it using YouTube. So thanks a bunch for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.